Kadosh Kichatzir Yamav Ketzitz Hasadeh Ken Yatzitz Ki Ruach Avravo V'Einenu V'Lo Yerech Yitirenu Od Nikomo V'Chesed V'Noemi Olam Yad Olam Al Yirayav Tzidkato L'Fnei Bani. Tender as a father with his children, the Lord is merciful with his worshippers. He knows how we are fashioned. He remembers that we are but dust. The days of man are as grass. He flourishes as a flower in the field. The wind passes over it and it is gone, and no one can recognize where it grew. But the Lord's compassion for his worshippers, his righteousness to children's children, remain age after age unchanging. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Ro'i Lo Echsar, Bino Deshe Yarbitzeni, Almei Menuchat Yahani Haleni. Nafshi Yishovev Yancheni B'Maglei Tzedek L'man Shemo, Gam Ki Elech B'Geitz Al Mavet, Lo Irara Ki Atay Madi, Shiftecha Mishantecha Heimat Nachamuni, Taroch Lefanai Shulchan Neged Zororai. Ishanta B'Shem Roshi Kosi Revaya, Achtov V'Chesed Yerdefuni Ko Yemei Chayai, V'Shafti B'Veit Adonai Liorech Yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Eshet Chayil Miyimtza, V'Rachok Nitnim Nichra, Batach Balev Bala V'Shalo Echsar, Yemalatu Tov V'Lo Koi Yemei Chayeha. A good woman who can find, her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. She renders him good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is robed with strength and dignity and cheerfully faces whatever may come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her husband too, and he praises her. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but the God-fearing woman is much to be praised. Place before her the fruit of her hands. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Eshet Chayil Miyimtza, a woman of valor, who shall find her? Her worth is above rubies. The author of the quote from Proverbs was certainly talking about you, Mom. Mom, who can think of you in any other way? What you managed to accomplish in your life, despite your challenges, is extraordinary. The love and kindness and generosity that you showered on your family, the temple, your friends and neighbors is beyond description. Born in Philadelphia 84 years ago, you were born incredibly talented. What couldn't you do? I don't think there was an artistic medium that you couldn't turn into a masterpiece. But why start with that? For as much as you had creative abilities and they were your essence, there was something much more important to you. Your family, of course, Dad, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. Dad was your love for more than 64 years, and you were his. There was nothing you would not do for him, nor he for you. I still remember how you worked together, making our B'nai Mitzvah repasts, how you worked together wallpapering and paneling your beloved house in Willingboro, and how you spent your time together after Dad's retirement, especially your visits to the gym together. You were known to everybody as a team, and your studies in the Temple Torah study group on Shabbat mornings. You were always there for Dad, and he for you. everything side by side. Your love for your children, grandchildren, and great-children was limitless. I remember vividly when I was small and Dad had to work on weekends how you would pitch a wiffle ball to me while I tried to hit it with a giant plastic bat. Or the innumerable school art projects which I couldn't carry out without you by my side, since your talents apparently skipped a generation only to reappear in my children. You're typing my high school and college papers, a tedious task since my handwriting was quite small. The barrels and barrels of cookies of all sorts, butter cookies, chocolate chip cookies, peanut butter cookies. I didn't like the oatmeal cookies so much. One more delicious than the next. Mea culpa, or shall I say, chatati aviti. I surely sinned. I stole lots of those cookies from the Charles Chips cans before they made it to their intended audiences. I can only speak for Shira, but I know that the love you showed her was also showered on Harvey and on Gary and on Tammy. And they loved you very much in return. And how your grandchildren looked forward to being with you. The toys and art projects, but so much more. You're taking the time to work and play with each of them. How they loved your hugs and kisses, Jan. Because they knew how much they meant to you. You were there for people in the family when they needed you, caring for Bubby and Nanny, when they were laid up, even when under trying conditions. And you were there for your community in any way you were able to be of help, cooking and baking for others, and for events at the temple, sharing your artistic talents as well. What weren't you talented at, Mom? Painting, pen and ink, stained glass work, wood carving, pottery, knitting, crocheting, beadwork, needlework. I don't think there was an inch of the walls of my house where there weren't books, of course, which is not covered by the artwork you brought for us on each and every visit. Last, I want to talk about how heroically you faced your challenges. It is not an easy thing to live with epilepsy, especially in the suburbs where it's not so easy to get around in an environment which was not always conducive for those who had physical challenges. Despite this, you managed to be a great mom, a very talented artist, to be there for others, and to meet life's challenges in a heroic way, an example for others. These last few years haven't been easy for you, with other ailments creeping in, and Dad also ailing. And then Dad's passing. Now you are at peace along with Dad. Love you and miss you, Mom. Jan, Shira and I, Joy and Gary, Barry and Tammy, Harvey, Netanel and Adva, Yishai and Ravit, Yair and Aviyah, Meital and Elchanan, Karen and Yosef, Rachel and Dave, Jeremy and Jess, Shayna, Jen and Eddie, Brian, Alia and Kyle, Isabel and Richard, Robert, Amichai and Nitzan, Noya and Daniel, Moishi, Meir, Tzvi, Avraham, Ruti, Hillel, Yaakov, and Rivka, Adin and Shmuel, Ayala, Ephraim and Rivka, Korah and Grant, Elijah, Owen and Patrick, and one on the way. Shendel bat Shimon, Venora, Zichrona Livracha, Janet Silverstein, may your memory be for a blessing. I just want to take this opportunity now to thank Joy and Gary and Barry and Tammy for caring for Mom and Dad during these very hard years. While I was in Yerushalayim. Thank you.
our Jan Jan, she was a special sort of person. Deep down in her heart, she believed in trying to do good for others. She was a true helper who wanted to make a difference. Whether baking cakes, crocheting blankets, creating Halloween costumes, or helping her family members, Jan Jan always wanted to help. On a personal level, I was graced by Jan Jan's helping spirit in both good and maybe sometimes not so great ways. There was the time that all of my friends were putting blonde streaks in their hair, and Jan Jan helped me do mine. Except that all of my hair ended up Ronald McDonald red. There was also the day of my bat mitzvah, when I came home from the salon crying because they did my hair like an old lady. Jan Jan calmly redid my hair and fixed everything. Perhaps Jan Jan's greatest gift for me was when she helped me with my 3 beautiful children. So that I could go to work each day. She fed them, played with them, and taught them all sorts of things. This challenging time in my life was eased, and it also brought her great joy. She loved children, and of course dogs. I am forever grateful to our Jan Jan. She was such a good soul, and she will be dearly missed. A part of me is now missing. I am, however, reassured by the fact that she is reunited with her Santa. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to give a special shout out to our Jan Jan's best friends. Marquita's here, and Diana, and Iris, and so many others who were her best friends over the last years. They truly loved her, and they treated her like family, and they made every day special for her. Thank you so much for doing that for her. Love you guys.
So much has been said already. Mom, Jan Jan, almost everyone. She loved her family. It was everything to her. And she passed along some really, really wonderful memories for me, for most of you. I want to share a memory now of how she took care of me, took care of us. When I was probably about 5 or 6, and we moved to Willingboro, it wasn't an easy transition for me. Silversteins don't like change. Not such an easy thing. And school was a little bit rough for me because I had Frankenstein lips. So I had eczema on my lips that kids used to make fun of. And it was hard going to school every day. But Mom wanted to make me special there, special in school. And every year for Halloween, she would custom make a costume for me. And every year I'd win an award for the best costume. I was Snoopy, I was a dinosaur, I was an elephant, I think I was a bird. Every year she would hand make a costume for me. And it made me feel special at that school. And she made all of us feel special. And she did things for us and looked out for us. Whether it was baking, as Joy Mitch said. But probably the biggest thing that Mom shared with all of us was her love of making things. As my brother shared already, she could make anything. She would learn anything. For someone who struggled so much with epilepsy and with academics, she would figure things out. She was fearless. She was strong. Okay? She was strong. She was this little woman who was so very strong. And she showed that strength by learning things that other people thought couldn't imagine doing. She would just do it. She would take a class, she would read something, she would practice. She had her art room, her sanctuary. And for those of us who were blessed to do those craft projects, those art projects with her, I think it meant the world to all of us to be able to do those things. And so I credit her with my inspiration for being fearless. So Dad was strong. Mom was fearless. Mom was fearless. She was never afraid to take on a new challenge. Together they were amazing. And I'm so very grateful to have had both of them as parents. And I will miss them both dearly. Gotta give him one. Can't forget my dear brother.
The rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kafei Ashchina B'malot Kedosh L'Matorim Kizor Rakia Mazirim Et Nishmat Sheindel Bat Shimon V'Nora Shalcha L'Olama B'Gan Eden Tei Menuchata Ana Bala Rachamim Asireha V'Seter Kanafecha L'Olamim Utzror b'tzror ha'chaim et nishmata Adonai hu nachlata v'tanoch b'shalom ha'mishkava v'namar Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Janet Silverstein, who is gone to her eternal rest. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is her portion. May she rest in peace, and let us say Amen. I just want to say a word about this phrase, being bound up in the bond of life. The phrase in Hebrew is Mitzror HaChayim. A friend of mine who in rabbinical school, who before he came to rabbinical school was a Moroccan shepherd, he told us that in Morocco, when he was shepherding sheep, the way you would keep count of your sheep is that you had a pouch with pebbles, and each sheep was a pebble, and B'tzrura tzrura chayim in Hebrew, it's being bound up in the bond of life, which you can't understand what those words mean, is really that the deceased should be one of the pebbles in God's pouch. It's because God is the ultimate shepherd. So Mom, that's our wish for you, that we will stand up.
To God's pouch.
To fill in the grave, it's a mitzvah at a funeral to fill in the grave and not to leave the grave unassisted, but unfinished before we leave the funeral site. So if people will help out in filling in the grave, that would be